Hey everyone! So today I'm going to be talking about literature, and this is in response to Lydia Resurrected, who started this topic, I would say again, in her An Honest Goth Talk video. And I was sort of inspired to do a literature video myself because I am highly interested in the subject myself. And she also did an excellent introduction to Gothic literature for everyone who is not quite familiar with the topic and who wants to maybe start reading and doesn't know where to begin. So I recommend you watch her video. I will link it down below because it's excellent. And so now is going to be my sort of response to that topic. And this video is going to be about my master's thesis. I've been studying English studies for the last 6 years, and I've completed a bachelor's degree in 2013 where I wrote about the evil in Harry Potter, and now I'm finishing my master's degree. I've handed in my master's thesis about 3 weeks ago, and it's about 80 pages long, and it took me the last 4 months or so to write, and it was hard work. So I want to tell you why I've been doing less videos, because I've been working on that thesis. So now I've only got an oral exam left, and then I'm finished with all my work for my master's degree. And what is that to say? So I tried to focus in the last 2 years of my master's degree to, master's studies, I don't know, to focus on literature of the 19th century, on Victorian literature, and also the turn of the century, fin de siècle. I am interested in that area. So let's say from 1800 to 1920 maybe. Modernism is also, I think, a nice time for dark feelings and stuff. But now my master's thesis is really about Gothic literature, and it's concerned with the novels of the 19th century. And I will just show you what it's about in this video, and maybe you have to say something about it. So this is the completed work. This says master's thesis in German for everyone who doesn't know. And the title of my thesis, I am pretty okay with publishing this, I hope. So I've handed this in to the University of Hamburg 3 weeks ago, and this is its title. So it's The Intense Horror of Nightmare Came Over Me, Representations of the Affect of Fear in the 19th Century English Novel. And what did I write about? Fear, obviously. And I'm introducing the paper with an explanation of Sigmund Freud's ideas about fear and anxiety, which are to be found in his numerous papers and publications. And he mainly describes anxiety and illness concerned with fear, but he also describes the effects and symptoms of fear. So I use that for my theoretical background, and I also have several people I want to say several papers, several publications describing how fear in humans is shown, how you can see fear. So my questions in my paper were: how is the affect of fear depicted and illustrated in the 19th century English novel? What kind of development took place from the beginning to the end of the century, particularly concerning causes for and depiction of fear? And what are constant recurring techniques, narrative methods, motifs, images and approaches to depict fear in literature, and especially in the novel of the 19th century? And my thesis is the function of confusing and irritating methods of literary writing, such as unreliable narration, depictions of delusionary states of minds, and unclear, blurred distinction between sleep, dream, daydream, being awake, between reality and fiction in the novel of the 19th century, is primarily to create fear, anxiety, and suspense in both characters and readers. So that's what my paper is about, and I use the example novels of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1818, Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights from 1847, and Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1897. So through the whole century, one at the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end of the century. And these are three very famous examples of Gothic literature, I know, and even if scholars would say that maybe some of them aren't primarily Gothic novels, they still all include Gothic features, and that's what I'm going on about in my paper as well. So if you watched Ligeia Resurrected's video, or if you know anything about Gothic features in literature at all, you'll see that in these three novels there are several elements, and they can be, put into several different genres or into several different categories, but I'd still say, and I argue for this in my paper, that they all include, that are heavily loaded with Gothic imagery and Gothic methods and stuff. So I am looking in my texts for specific elements that cause other characters or readers to experience fear through the text. And I'm looking for rhetoric elements and methods, such as intensifying words or sentence structures that enhance certain feelings. One example of an unreliable narration, this is from Wuthering Heights, would be the unclear distinction between dream and sleep. So I wrote, the distinction between sleep and being awake is again blurred heavily through the constant mentioning of the change of dream and reality. It appears that Lockwood seems to clearly divide into a dream and reality, but the reader cannot be sure of his certainty and trustworthiness in such a situation, as it's shown above. Now the real nightmare begins. And this is a quote from Wuthering Heights. Quote, I listened doubtingly an instant, detected the disturber, then turned and dozed and dreamt again, if possible still more disagreeably than before. This time, I remembered, I was lying in the oak closet, and I heard distinctly the gusty wind and the driving of the snow. I heard, also, the fir boat repeat its teasing sound and ascribed it to the right cause, but it annoyed me so much that I resolved to silence it, if possible, and I thought I rose and endeavoured to unhasp the casement. The hook was soldered into a staple, a circumstance observed by me when awake, but forgotten. I must stop it, nevertheless, I muttered, knocking my knuckles through the glass and stretching an arm out to seize the importunate branch, instead of which my fingers closed on the fingers of a little ice-cold hand. Lockwood, unquote. Lockwood tries to recount his nightly experiences with a very rational approach. Although it first says that he listened doubtingly, suggesting that he's frightened by now of noises which he does not know the origin of, he tells us that he just turned around and dozed and dreamt. It is unlikely that he did not feel scared at that moment, and that he did not think the knocking sound to be scary. He probably tries to hide the fact that in this account. His explicit emphasis on the fact that he only found the noise annoying but really knew that it was only a tree indicates that there was something to be afraid of. His attitude towards fear and being afraid can later be seen when his and Heathcliff's fearful reactions are labelled cowardice and childish. This shows that fear was not something a man would want to admit of having because it makes him appear weak. So this is an example, and then I have an example. Yes, I wrote my paper in English, if you were wondering. And I have an example from Dracula for imagery, which is, in the question of life or death, blood is highly important for the vampire. The depiction of blood and the effect it has on the Count is lengthy and contains graphic imagery. Quote, "There lay the Count, but looking as if youth had been half renewed, for the white hair and moustache were changed to dark iron grey. The cheeks were fuller, and the white skin seemed ruby red underneath. The mouth was redder than ever, for on the lips were gouts of fresh blood, which trickled from the corners of the mouth and ran over the chin and neck. Even the deep burning eyes seemed set amongst swollen flesh, for the lids and pouches underneath were bloated. It seemed as if the whole awful creature was simply gorged with blood. He lay like a filthy leech, exhausted with his repletion. I shuddered as I bent over to touch him, and every sense in me revolted at the contact." Unquote. The effect of color adjectives is enhanced by the additional attributes. The constant repetition of the words blood and red throughout the novel have a shocking effect, as red is a very vivid and striking color. In this paragraph, the detailed description of the Count's freshly fed body creates an image of horror and disgust, which Jonathan finds sickening. Blood as a bodily fluid is nothing unfamiliar in itself, but its use is what creates the terrifying effect. For a regular human body, blood belongs inside the veins and arteries, protected by layers of skin. Blood outside of the blood vessels indicates a violation. The condition of the vampire as being in a state between life and death is further confused by the need of blood, as the fluid usually clearly belongs to the realm of life. This impressive passage has a great unsettling effect because the blood is at a place where it should not be. And so on and so forth. So this is just examples. But I'm also looking for references to fears and anxiety causes that were going on in the 19th century. So I also have a chapter on the historical background where I delve into what was, concerning people in the 19th century and why would they be afraid. And then later on in the chapters about the novels, I pick those topics up and show how the literary writers were, connecting their daily fears that they experienced or that people in their time, were concerned with. So the 19th century, as you might know, was a time of many new discoveries, and as has been said before, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is a heavily scientifically influenced work, for example, and the 19th century held many new developments in science, and people were afraid of that because it was all new and they didn't know what to expect. And that, for instance, is picked up in Frankenstein. And then in Wuthering Heights, it's much about social status and the fear to, decline the social ladder, or what you call it. And that is shown very much, but also very much the Gothic imagery, nature, and also ghosts and, mysterious, spooky imagery, and also dramatic love story. Dracula also includes the vampire figure, so another supernatural element that is causing fear in people and characters. And but also I've mainly come to the conclusion in my paper that the narrative structure of all of these novels is the main reason or the main cause of fear, or the main method to cause fear and uneasiness in readers, because they all consist of unreliable narrations and narrators who admit to not telling the truth or not being certain about what they're telling. And they consist of several, Frankenstein and Dracula consist of newspaper articles, diary entries, and so on and so forth. So little pieces pieced together, consisting of different narrators and arranged in a way that you sometimes think, wow, well, they left something out, or yeah, and so they often tell the reader that they're not sure that what they are telling you is real, and that is a great cause for uneasiness and anxiety and fear, I think. So what made me write about these 3 novels? Of course, I have been interested in Gothic literature, as I am interested in the Gothic and studying literature, so what would I choose? And I have read all of these 3 several times before, and I wanted to choose a topic or a subject of study that I am very familiar with and that I am sort of good at, I want to say, or that I have, greater knowledge of, so as to make it easier to write the paper about them. And yeah, these are very famous examples also, and they are also, as I said, spread throughout the century, the 19th century, so that's convenient. And they all have different topics that they are concerned with, but also similar imagery of ghosts, vampires, or creatures. And I think you should read them all. These are just the Penguin editions. This is in Oxford. Yep. Yes, this says sexy count. See what my notes are? Nice, right? Okay. So, yeah, this is what I did in the last 4-5 months. And yeah, what do you think about it? What do you think are main reasons for you to have, to be afraid if you read something, or maybe if you watch a movie, or if you anything really? Because I found that it's mostly the way the story is told, not so much. I mean, also in addition to that, also the imagery and crazy stuff happening, supernatural things, but also I think mainly the way things are told. And especially if you don't know a lot of things and you have to guess by yourself, and that keeps you in this tension, and that creates fear, I think. And the Gothic way of telling stories is often to, keep you in the dark, literally. So that creates fear. So what do you think? I hope you like this. I hope you like this topic. If you want to see more about literature, I can easily do that. I was just, up until now, a little bit afraid to talk about literature because it's not so easy, and it's mainly controversial and a subject that is discussed in universities, and I am aware that many different opinions are around about these topics, so please no hate about anything. I don't know if that's possible. Yeah, if you like this, suggest other novels or topics in literature that I should talk about, and I will do that. And hope you liked the video. Like it if you did, and see you soon. Bye.